Okay, let's try it again. I'm just going to wait a little bit because it looks like my streaming has not been working. Okay, here we go. Looks like it's working now. All right, so what I was talking about before was basically I want to try and turn this into a plugin now because I think basically everything I'm doing, it would make sense to be its own I guess project. And then when I actually teach this series, rather than showing people how to do all of this crap around the edges of Firebase, I can just teach them how to use my sort of like Firebase composables library. So I'm trying to think about like the architecture that I would use for that. And so yeah, what was I thinking? I was thinking handle logged in redirect would now have to take in router. And so we don't actually need that anymore. What else? Yeah, so now what we need to do is we need to figure out how to create an instance of Firebase and either provide and inject that instance of Firebase. So basically allow a user to set up Firebase and then have it provide and inject in the application, or basically get the user to create their own instance of Firebase and then we pass it around to the composables, which really like it makes everything super decoupled, but it makes it a little bit harder to use, which I don't really like. So I might look into making a Vue plugin. So how does, in fact, let's have a look at how Pina does it, for example. How do you install Pina and tools like Vuex? So you do app.use, create Pina, and I'm guessing that's using then provide and inject to make the global store available. Okay. And that's how you then start to find. All right, so we want to be able to make this as a plugin. So let's say Quasar, not Quasar, sorry, Vue 3 plugin. Plugins, here we go. Self-contained that usually add global level functionality to Vue. It is either an object that exposes an install method or a function. All right, so let's have a crack at this. Just gonna mess around and see what I come up with. Let's call this Firebase plugin .js, maybe capital F there. Export default, and that's an object with an install function. Now my guess is this is now going to allow me to have the config. So I could basically say, just give me the app at this point. And do we get provide and inject here? What's an API? App to pro. Okay, here we go. Plugins also allow us to use inject to provide a function or attribute to the okay. We can allow the application to have access to the options parameter to be able to. All right, cool. So what I could do is I could provide Firebase app, and by doing that, all of my composables can now inject it and use the Firebase app. And then all they have to do is give me the instance of the Firebase app, and then they're all set and ready to go, and the composables are just going to work. So let's have a look at actually building this out and see how it all works. For now, I'm just going to basically grab all of this like import code. This is what I actually want for initializing the app. Do I want an initialized app? Does that actually matter, I wonder? And then we're going to accept the config through here, I would imagine. That'd be cool if we can basically say all you have to do is give me the config. And then what I could potentially do is say later on, you give me the config or you give me your app that you've already set up, just in case people want to have that extra flexibility. Now, one of the other problems is, what about something like Firebase Auth? All of this stuff I can do myself behind the scenes within the composables, I think. Or we set them up as different plugins. You have a plugin for Firebase data and then one for Firebase Auth. See, people are going to complain if they end up with a bundle size that's too big because they need to pull in all this extra stuff. But what you could do is that you could set up the composable and then say the composables is then the one that imports Firebase Auth. Yeah, I reckon that'll work fine. So all we actually need here is the Firebase app. This will be super simple. And then it looks like we're simply saying app.provide. Okay, so you get app first and then the options. So we'll say app and then options. And how about we make the config options.config? Options.config like that, right? And now we'll come back in here, and what will we call this? I guess we'll call this just Firebase, I guess. Yeah, how about that? So something went wrong there. App.provide, and I want you to provide to me Firebase. And what's with the options? Okay, then that's saying what the thing that you provide, of course. And then we'll just send through the app like that. All right, that looks pretty straightforward. Now, is there a way that we can wrap this in like plugin, for example, so we don't need any of that? Import, maybe, what is it? Define plugin or something like that? You'd think that there'd be some sort of typing. What's wrong with this? Has already been declared. Has it? What have I done wrong here? Export default, install. Oh, whoops. All right. Written this wrong. Now what doesn't it like? Identifier app has already been declared. Oh, okay, that's where I actually set it here. And so maybe we'll call this view app. And then we can say view app.provide. And then here we've got Firebase app. And that needs to be imported from Firebase app. God, everything's called app, isn't it? Okay, so Firebase Auth, we do not need at this point. There's a potential that they will not want to use Firebase Auth at all. In fact, Firestore we don't even need at this point. We just want to do basic initialization. I think I can get away with doing that. I don't know if I need to import these beforehand in order to get them to work, or if I can import them after the case. But I guess we'll find out in a second. So the next thing to do is I'm basically going to comment the crap out of this. How about we just don't use it? We'll call this Firebase plugin. Yeah, let's do that. We'll say Quasar new boot. We'll call it Firebase plugin. Let's just go with that. We really are just messing around for now anyway. So Firebase plugin. There it is there. It does not need to be asynchronous. We will pull app out of here. Yep, definitely want to pull app out. Like so. And now we'll jump into our quasar.conf file. And then we'll find out the plugins that we're using. Where is it? Oh, plugins. No, they're boot files. What am I talking about? And we'll get rid of this one. And we'll use Firebase-app, the one, no, plugin. Is that what I called it? Yep. Firebase-plugin instead. So we're still going to keep this file for reference. But for the most part now, I want to see if I can get this new sort of Firebase plugin system working. And I want to say app.use. Is that what it is? Yeah, app.use. And we're now going to use that Firebase plugin that I created as a service. So Firebase plugin like that. And it's going to expect some options as well, which in my case is going to be my Firebase config. So we can import that like this, and I believe it is Firebase config dot what was it? Providers.default. Providers.default. There we go. So give that a save. And might have to refresh it now. All right, I don't know what that's. Firebase app name default already exists. Dig a little bit deeper. So yeah, I'm not surprised. There's probably somewhere I'm accidentally setting up the app twice. So Firebase.js should not be included anymore. When I save that, yeah, so we should not be using that boot file anymore. I'm going to restart the dev server. And then when that dev server is restarted, what else can I try? We're at the login page. So let's go login page.view. And I want to test this stuff out one at a time. In fact, you know what? Let's just go ahead and create a new test page. Quasar, new page, test page. Just so I can start playing around with this stuff now. We'll jump in our routes file. And then we'll just create. I know this is a little bit janky, but it doesn't really matter for now. So we've got our test route. Let's go to test. Nice. Refresh the page. We're not getting any errors now. So now let's go into test page, and we can start basically playing around with these concepts now and see if we can sort of start getting these composables to play nice with the provide and inject we're using with the plugin. So I should now be able to inject my instance of Firebase. And I believe we just called it Firebase. So how about we say here, inject, and of course the user wouldn't have to do this, of course. This is something that we're simply doing for testing purposes. This is something that our composable would do behind the scenes. So we'll call it Firebase like that, and I believe it's just done like this. Const Firebase is equal to inject Firebase, console.log Firebase, and cut that, change it to sugarref, throw that up there. It's kind of the new way of doing things. Is it auto-injected? I think inject is automatically supplied to us with some of the new Vue tooling. So I'm going to go into my ESLint.js. Here it is here. And we'll come in here and we'll add another one called inject. And while I'm at it, I should probably add provide as well, because I'm guessing you can pluck that out as well. All right, so we'll close that down and start it up again so the ESLint doesn't complain. Oh, these headphones are starting to hurt my ears. Oh, let me throw them off. Let me know if you can't hear me properly anymore. I'm just taking my headphones off so it's a bit more manageable. Cool. There we go. So that's working. we can now use provide and inject to get an instance of Firebase. And that means that I should be able to get my Firebase, where is it? My Firebase plugin here. Just get this set up properly. There we go. I need to get a mic that I can just sort of wrap on my head that doesn't have headphones to make this easier. All right, so now with, not the Firebase plugin, now with use Firebase email sign-in, we need to be able to get, we need auth available to us. So, in order to make that available to us, maybe we should make another composable that gives us auth. I think that's probably the best way to do it. So now if I go new file here, and we call this Firebase Auth.js. By the way, everything in here is what's going to turn into a new project later on down the line. And we say export default. Do we do export default, or do we just run this code once? All right, hang on, let me think about this. I think we do export default because when we fetch auth, let me just look at the code I was using before. I remember there's funky stuff around this where you had to like rerun getting the instance and then auth for that instance. So use, I think I just got, here we go, Firebase in the boot file. We get Firebase auth like this. And then stuff is called off of that. So that code was working. All right, so we probably can provide Firebase auth by giving it app. Cool. All right, so what I'm going to do is say export default function. We're going to inject the app here. And I should be able to do that by saying Firebase. Now what I can do is say const Firebase app, or let's even, we can probably just call it app at this point, is equal to inject Firebase. And I should probably call that Firebase app at some point. I don't know. Really scraping my brain here. So now we want to say Firebase auth is equal to our app dot auth. Can I do it that way? I don't know, we'll find out in a moment. And now we want to expose that. So export default, and we will export auth as Firebase auth. What's wrong with that? What do you mean? Only appear at the top. Oh, sorry, that's meant to be a return. Starting to get a little bit tired. Okay. So now use Firebase email sign-in is going to get auth from services slash Firebase auth. Is that what we called it? Yep, auth. And now that I've got auth, I can start playing around with it, and hopefully it will just work. In fact, I think that's pretty much everything I need to do for use Firebase sign-in. So we might even be able to go to the login page like this, and it work. Duplicate app. Is it? creating the app again. None of this should be run. In fact, let's just do a console.log because I don't know why this would run, but it shouldn't run. Why on earth is that running? What? That makes no sense. Does Quasar automatically pick up boot files now? Boot files. Okay. For this to happen, you need to... Weird. Okay, maybe I need to close my server and start it again, but this is not making sense. Tell Quasar to use your new boot file. This is Firebase app. Okay, so let's run that again. Okay, it's not being run this time. Is it? No, I got rid of the console.log, so let's try that again. Why on earth would this be run? Source boot, firebase.js. And we go to our boot files here. But it clearly tells you man, this is beyond me. All right, another thing we can try is closing that out, and then we'll delete Control H. How do I show hidden files? Here it is here. We'll delete the cache that Quasar creates there for us. Run Quasar dev again, and see if it's still running. Might have just been a weird caching issue. All right, so let's give that a refresh. And that code's still being run. I don't know what's going on here. Maybe something is importing this. I bet you that's what's happening actually. Let's go to the login page. That would, yeah, here we go. All right, that's because I'm importing something from there, so it gets run. No wonder I had that false positive. So we'll get rid of this for now. The handle login redirect. We're going to re-implement that later on. Sweet, we get the page showing now. Here's Firebase. Well, it's not. Okay, so it couldn't find auth. Firebase auth. Okay, because I'm doing it wrong. Firebase auth. And then we get auth by plucking it out like this. Const auth is equal to Firebase auth. That's how I'm actually supposed to do it. App.auth is not a function. Where am I getting that? Okay, so somewhere in Firebase auth, it's telling me this is not a function. And that's got to do, I think, with... Well, did I initialize the app like this? No, the way it wants me to do it is say Firebase app.auth and then pass through the app. So we are going to import this up here, and then we will say Firebase app.auth, which is already there, and then use the app like that. I think that's correct. Let's give it another try. .auth is not a function. All right, so let's look at how it was exposed before. Firebase authors or we would say Firebase app.auth and then pass through the app. That seems to be essentially what we're doing here. And then we say Firebase auth dot whatever we need to do. Okay, so let's look at the implementation now. Was it the login page? No? Oh, use for, okay, that's right. Firebase auth, yeah, that's a function. What's it telling me is wrong here? Dot auth. So it's telling me I'm not getting auth back there. And it's, or I'm trying to call this as a function. No. So let's try a or maybe like a debugger around there. Trying to get into the habit of using debuggers. All right, we're not even hitting there. So let's jump in here. Throw a debugger in there. I'll just clear the console, refresh that. And let's take a look here. So now app, okay, it's undefined at the moment. Was it just injected? Okay, so now we've got the Firebase app. But it's telling me to use Firebase. Yeah, okay. So that part worked. It looked like the error came here. Firebase app. Oh, it's telling me this is not a function. .auth. All right. What does this do then? If I go, just do a quick log of Firebase app.auth. If it's not a function, what is it? Get rid of the debugger. No, actually, we might even use it. Okay, that looks pretty useless. They're the same, right? Yeah, Firebase app. I'm not reassigning it or anything, am I? No, it doesn't look like it. But I am getting undefined there. Okay, give me a look at... let's go to sources. Give me a look at app though. Can I go app maybe .firebase .auth or something like that? No. Still trying to figure out how to use this thing. All right, so I think it goes deeper than this. It looks like it might have something to do with... Oh, hang on. I need to actually import auth as well. Oh, crap. Oh, man, that was so silly of me. I bet you this will fix it. It wasn't working because I hadn't imported it yet. Okay, sweet. We're getting new errors now. So it's telling me I got an invalid API key, which tells me that the way app has been the way app was set up is not correct. So we want to go into Firebase plugin. And what have I done here? Options. So give me a console.log of options. That's correct. Oh, I've just sent in the options directly. That's why. All right, so Is that the best way to do it though? Yeah, probably. And then we'll just add it onto that options object. Yeah, and then I guess I could manually assign everything here if I needed to at some point. All right, let's go with that. Okay, so everything's looking green, and the final API of this is going to look absolutely amazing. So we have use Firebase. So use Firebase email sign-in. We've got all the code there sitting in its own file. And then if we come to our login page here, we'll see if it works, actually. Let's just test it. Oh my God, it's working. Beautiful. And now let's try, I think that's the correct password. I think that actually worked. Yeah, that actually worked, but I just haven't like set everything else up with it. So if I refresh this page, not now. How do I know if I'm signed in or not? Well, we can use, well, you know what? That's a good next thing to start building. We could say dot, maybe is authenticated. Well, we don't, we would just use the other library that we get from view use. But I probably want to proxy that library into my own. So, you know, like streamline some of the functionality of it since we already have the Firebase app. So let's do this. We'll create a new composable, which is, we'll call it use auth as well, just to maintain consistency there. And here it is here, use auth uses use auth. So this is basically just like a proxy to their use auth. But we will already have the Firebase app. So we can say export default like this. We set all that up like that. What have I done wrong here? We'll just do function. That's better to, probably a good habit for me to get into. And then we're going to return is authenticated, and we're going to return the user. But on top of that, we need to make sure we've got the correct Firebase app. And maybe we don't actually add these imports. We tell them that they need to do that themselves manually, because if I import this, I'm pretty sure that means that basically it runs that code. Every single time you come across an import like this, it runs that code again, which is not very efficient. You don't want to say every time you say use auth, even if it's in a different location, it's going to run that code all over again. Yeah. And maybe this isn't really use auth, this is more use auth state. Use auth state. Anyway, so let's say const app is equal to inject Firebase. So now we've got our Firebase app, and then we throw it in there. App.auth. Do they use parentheses? No, app.auth like that. And I should be able to check the auth state. Let's see if that works. By doing this. We want to pull those out. Is equal to, what is it? Use auth state. Use auth state. Like that. So now we've got is authenticated and user on the login page. But I only want to look at is authenticated for now. And then we'll come down here, and I just want to spit that out just so I know what's coming up there. Oh, that's all right. Expected something would go wrong. Use auth. Do I need to do this? Current if I'm reading get service. Man, this would be so much easier with Firebase 9, I'm pretty sure. With kind of doing imports the way I'm used to doing them. Get rid of that now. All right, hang on, let me think about this. So, I think I'm going to take a break. I'm getting a little bit tired. My brain's starting to shut down. I'm rereading errors. So I think the problem is here with app.auth. Let's do a log of app. And I think what we actually need to do, this is the part that was kind of worrying me before with all the import related stuff, is we need all this stuff basically imported at the time. So if we go to the Firebase plugin, I think we actually need to do this, which really sucks because you don't want to force the user to have all of these imported. Anyway, it looks like it's still not working. So how am I using it down here? We're saying use auth. Firebase app.auth. Oh, okay, so we're just getting Firebase app and saying, all right. So it's just doing that, meaning I don't even need the app at all, which makes sense because you'd only have one person ever authenticated. And there we go. So now that's working as well. Cool. Okay, so now we can use the auth state. Let me just come back up here to Firebase plugin. I'm going to find out about how all that works later on. I think I'm going to have to ask someone who's got knowledge in that area, knowledge that I don't have. But this is really cool because now we've separated that out as well. We've got Firebase auth state. And now use Firebase email sign-in. We want to have something similar for GitHub as well, and basically anything else. And you just pull in the composable you need for whatever sign-in functionality you need. So let's duplicate this and say use Firebase GitHub, and I'll call it auth, because this is a little bit different because it's going to either create you an account or not create your account, but either way you sign in the same way and are going to use the same composable there. So use Firebase GitHub auth. How's that going to work? We've got auth. Let's go back to our file where we did everything before. And we can get the GitHub authentication provider, GitHub auth provider like that. And that means we're going to need Firebase app. Will we? Hang on, where were we getting auth before? Can I pull that out of auth? Yeah, I think I can just do this. Okay, so we've got the GitHub authentication provider. Sign in with GitHub. So we want that, of course. And essentially we're going to cut out all of that. Oh, are we though? We'll change this to sign in. Oh no, we're proxying it there, so maybe we can be more specific. We'll say sign in with GitHub, and once again, just rename it there. And now we're not going to need an email and password. We're literally just sending through. It's literally just a function. Set the loading state. And now what do we do to sign in with GitHub? Do it like this. So we take that code. We're saying Firebase app.auth, which I think is this here. Is that correct? Yeah. So we can simply say auth.signin with pop-up using GitHub auth provider. And now the other thing I want to do is, so now that we've got the pop-up, can I await this? Is this a yeah, here we go. So I can await that. And then we just get an error if it doesn't work. And that's going to set the error there. And that's pretty much it. So loading is now possible. We can get our errors back and we can check whether or not we have errors. And that's pretty much it. All right, so use Firebase GitHub auth should now work. Let's go to that login page and I'll quickly just build out a GitHub auth button. So how we do that, we'll just come down here, we'll say q-card and q-card-section like that. And then we'll have a q-button and we'll set the color equal to gray-9, the icon equal to MDI-GitHub, and I guess we might as well give it a label. GitHub, and then we'll say no caps there, so it doesn't automatically capitalize it. There we go. That looks pretty good to me. Class equals q-margin top dash large, and that's what it looks like. Not perfect, but it's all right. And then you'd have like all sign in with, the words all sign in with, and then whatever. Now we don't need this anymore. We wanted to get the auth state set up, but we don't actually need it. That was just kind of for testing purposes to see whether or not it really was authenticating the user. And the other thing we want to build is a logout composable as well. But let's just try this for now. Well, actually, we have to do that now because we need a logout before we can even test this properly. Yeah, that's going to give me all sorts of errors. If we go to our home page now, we have to go to main layout, and now we need to handle all the sign out stuff. So let's go ahead and create a composable for that. New file, Firebase sign out .js, and I think we'll call that use. No, Firebase sign out.js. Still need to figure out the language around that, but we can fix that easily later. So export default, that's going to export a function, which then is going to return an object, and we'll just have here sign out. And then all we have to do is basically do a bit of a copy pasting game. Firebase app.auth, so we're using auth there, so we can just say auth like this and find out where I'm importing that. Where was I pulling that from? Was it Firebase auth? Yeah. All right, so we'll do this. Close that out. And we'll say import auth from services slash Firebase auth. I believe that is correct. Let's have a look through. Yep, auth. So now we can say auth.sign out like that, and I'm pretty sure that will work. And let's add all of that loading goodness as well, and error handling and all that jazz. And I'm pretty sure I can steal most of that kind of stuff from something like this. In fact, pretty much all of that. Gosh, we should have just duplicated that whole file, right? And now we'll change that to sign out, and it's auth.signout. So we'll come in here and we'll await auth.signout like that. Oh, damn it. Since I'm not using TypeScript, I'm starting to run out of typing power. Dot sign out, and it does return a promise, it looks like. Just want to see. Yeah, that does return a promise. Handles errors, so let's go ahead and import that. Handles errors, there we go. Error and then has errors. We will export both of those on here like this. And we've got all that loading state set up. We're trying to sign out the user. And if it does, then it's actually going to be the other person. It's going to be their job to then deal with what happens if you sign out. It would be cool if we could allow them to pass like a router instance, but that's probably trying to do too much with this library, so we won't bother with that. And there we go. Firebase sign out is looking good. The only way to really find out though is to actually try and use it. So let's say import sign out. Oh, it's coming from the wrong spot. Try that again. Can I just do this? Import. Well, oh, okay, because you need to then call. Oh, I keep forgetting this. So then I need to say const sign out is equal to Firebase sign out called, and then we'll also pluck out of their error sign out. All the error handling is already done for us, so we basically want to say if there are no errors, then handle sign out success. And really, this separation is really not useful anymore. So we can say if come in here, we'll say error has errors. Has errors dot value. So if we do not have any errors, then we want you to push me to the login page. Don't need that anymore. Still need our router. This needs to be an async function. And I think I've put async in the wrong spot again. There we go. Sweet. Close that out, refresh the page, and let's see what we get here. Warning, Firebase sign out. It's not export auth. It's not found. Firebase auth. So let's come in here. That should work. Signout.js. Export auth. Where am I? Imported as auth. So that's this here. I'm pretty sure they're talking about. Was not found in services slash Firebase. Firebase auth. Does this just export it? No, it's exported right there. All right, let's try another refresh. What is that all about? Export auth, imported as auth, was not found in services Firebase auth. Right. Because this is, of course, needs to be done this way. Firebase auth, and then we have to come in here and say const auth is equal to Firebase auth and call that as a function. That was my bad. It did actually make sense. So let's try that again, and looks like we don't have any errors. Log out, and everything worked. Very, very cool. Cool. So we've successfully been able to extract a bunch of these just into their own composables that work really, really nicely, at least in my opinion. Firebase Sign. And now we go back to that main layout. Is there anything else we can cull? We need that. This is very specific to the page. See, this is what I really, really like. When at the end of the day, only stuff that is hyper specific to the main layout, you know, this very much belongs in the main layout, is sitting in the main layout. And honestly, I would probably add another level of abstraction. I won't do it right now for signing out, so that all you have to do is call sign out, and it would even do the routing part for you as well. So I do another extra level of abstraction that basically runs all that code for you as well. Which does, you know, so at the end of it, all you have to do then is say await, sign out, and you'd essentially be able to get rid of that, and you'd be able to get rid of that, and it would be even cleaner. But yeah, a little bit redundant. So yeah, I'm going to leave it at that for now, and then we'll